I'll just open the meeting first. This is a meeting of the Cohasset Select Board, Friday, October 13th. Hopefully not a bad omen. 8:13, hopefully not a bad omen. And I'll do a roll call vote, and all votes have to be by roll call because we're virtual. So Ms. Marr,
Present.
Mr. Grady,
Present.
Mr. Creighton,
Present.
Mr. Plex,
Here.
Jean Healy-Dippold here. We have Mr. Senior here. Okay, so I would propose that Chris give us a brief update, and then maybe what I was thinking is, Chris, if you don't mind in that update, just giving a brief update of any warrant updates, including votes. And I'd seek your guidance on whether we could just vote the warrant all at once in terms of all articles, unless someone has a specific article they want to talk through in the interest of efficiency. I don't know if that's amenable to my fellow board members. I think we know the articles pretty well, but open to discussion on that.
Agreed.
Okay. It's really for you, Mr. Creighton and Mr. Grady, who weren't at the Tuesday meeting. And Chris, if you want, I can do that too, because I've been on all the meetings as well to date.
Sure. The quick update is that advisory has completed its action on the warrant with everything except the zoning. They're going to be taking that up on the 25th. So they're gonna look at the public forum on the 23rd, what you do on the 24th with the zoning conversation, and I'm sorry, with the affordable housing conversation, just as an update for them, because they've already voted on that. So they voted on everything unanimously. There was only one abstention on one article, and that was just for more information, and that was on the town hall article. So all the votes seem to have been 7-0, 8-0, or 9-0, or 8-01. So the advisors completed action on the warrant, with the exception of zoning. Last night, Capital, and again, Jean could go in more depth. She was on the meeting last night. They did vote unanimously in support of the Fields and Courts project that CPC moved forward, and the police station on a vote of 401. There was one abstention on the police and fire station. They did not yet vote on the town hall project or the stabilization funds, either one of them. So they're going to be picking that up at their next meeting. So so at least so far they voted on everything positively, though they had a very
Or the feasibility study.
All right, they didn't do the only things they voted on in terms of the major projects are the Fields and the Courts project, which they said yes to, and then the police and fire, which they said yes to. That said, and again, I won't. They had a very robust conversation last night. That said, it ended up ending in a positive way, so it moved in the right direction. So, and again, I think they're also waiting for some more information on the town hall project. So, again, the Jean Field pick up right from there if you like.
I know Ms. Marr has a question.
So if they voted positively on CPC, was there a caveat for the town hall? Okay.
Oh, they didn't vote on that. They didn't vote on that. They only voted on the Fields and the Courts project. They didn't vote on any of the other.
They voted by project number, not by article.
Correct. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, we continue to get a lot of questions about affordable housing on town hall, including how much will we be making and where will that money be allocated to. That was a big focus. I know Mr. Grady was on the call as well. One of the things that I pointed out, including to advisory, and that I believe the chair of Capital is trying to point out as well, was that this is a situation where we're talking about how much revenue off of a municipal building, which is a unique situation and not likely one to be replicated if we don't vote for One Pleasant Street. Because if you look at our existing town hall, that's not a revenue generator by any means. And I also identified that the alternatives that the board was looking at also were not revenue generators. And so I didn't want everyone to miss the big picture of this bit writ large is a good thing to have a problem, so to speak, about how much money will these units be generating. But in any event, we'll continue the discussion. And Michelle has been helpful, and she's been gathering a lot of information, incidentally, about the affordable housing component that seems to be driving a lot of the discussion including talking with a lottery manager who, this is what they do. They support affordable housing units. And adding in that information in line item detail. Ellen?
Yeah, so I just have a question. If the revenue generation from the rental units is there like a break-even point where where their position is, if you don't make X amount of money, we're not going to vote for this? Like, I don't understand. It's revenue generating, which is should be perceived as a positive. What is the threshold with which their vote will be swayed one way or the other? Because they're just asking questions. I mean, questions that we've all talked about ourselves, and we will get to a more robust P&L on the building. But I'm just confused.
I don't know, Ellen.
Okay.
I think it's more just questions and questions and questions. Mr. Creighton?
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point about the revenue. I had some discussions with other members of the of Capital, and my point was very simple. Look, even without the revenue, we would approve this, because this is half what was proposed before. So these units are bonus units. So we should not allow minutia questions about the revenue here and there to say, well, we can only do this if we get this revenue doing X, Y, or Z. The point is, this is an overall very financially prudent investment to solve a town problem. We're half what the previous one, there was town hall. We've done very well on that. We don't need the revenue. And the revenue then just goes in to help pay the overhead. And I think we had agreed earlier that ultimately the overhead of this goes to that building. End of story.
Gene, I don't mean to cut off. Sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
No, I saw you winding up. Go for it.
So I know Mr. Grady has his hand up, so I want to make sure we get to him. But
I just spoke.
I said Mr. Grady.
Oh.
With the time that we've got, I just want to make sure we get to the warrant articles and we can strategize on how to work with the committees at another time.
Yep, absolutely. A town hall has been the biggest source of discussion in all of the last two meetings with Capital and Advisory, FYI. So to Mr. Plex's suggestion, why don't we go through the warrant articles? Chris, if you want to quickly run through, or I can, just let me know either way. We'll just point out any highlights, including, for example, the 500,000 in capital stabilization funds that I know is maybe something new for Mr. Creighton and Mr. Grady, as well as the relocation costs that came up at our Tuesday meeting.
Could you do me a favor, Tracy? Could you pop this up on the screen so we can all walk through the same thing at the same time?
One sec.
I do it, but I don't. You have the more
That's fine.
version than I do. So, well, I'll start with. I think I don't want to get too hung on procedural stuff here. You already did vote all of these, so we may have to move to reconsider your votes or something like that, so we can, so you can add everyone's vote. The first one is there's no change in Article 1. I think it keeps scrolling down, Tracy. This is just a supplemental appropriations. There's no unpaid bills. And on stabilization funds, what was added here was $500,000. Our free cash has been certified at 2.4 million, give or take. So this allowed us to put recommend $500,000 going to capital stabilization fund. And if you note in the information summary, it says the funds set aside would be available for capital projects and repairs, such as the current town hall at 41 Highland Ave, which will be voted at annual town meeting. So it doesn't have to go to that, but it's good that it's there. Advisory voted it unanimously; they were fine with it. So it's a down payment. So that's the only change to Article 3. Does anyone have any questions on that one? All right, so Article 4. The one thing we're going to do here, if you could scroll down a little bit further, it turns out, we got an opinion from bond counsel via counsel on Wednesday morning that town hall relocation expenses are included because they're linked to the building. So I would just assume strike this out. There's no reason to spend it, right? Why make this complicated? Since advisors already voted on all the others, and oh, by the way, the other thing that capital voted on was the software and the 2 ADA accessibility, so they voted for those as well. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. So if we just strike out that last line, because we don't need the money anymore since it's considered part of the expense by bond council. And then
Hey, Chris,
yeah.
let's just pause on that for a second. I'm totally fine with that, and I think that makes it easier not to have a sort of indirect discussion about town hall in the context of these one-time fund articles. If the rest of the board agrees, let's just strike it out and make it cleaner. Is that okay with everyone?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Chris and Ellen, is that okay with you?
Yes.
Okay,
All right, let's keep moving. Sorry
And
to
then
interrupt.
Article 5 is town hall, and that's again, the warrant was slightly reordered. This allows the conversation of town hall to come first. Again, the votes on that have been the advisory board was 801, and the only one was just the one abstention was just some more information on the affordable housing component. So it wasn't opposition, it was just we need to hear more. And Article 6 is again, that's the CPC. So those projects are as they've been discussed, and advisory voted these unanimously as well, all of them. Article 7 is the police and fire, a police station and fire satellite station. That was voted by capital last night. You can add that one, Tracy, 401. With again, the one abstention was just more questions. It wasn't opposition. The roads and sidewalk special purpose fund was voted unanimously by advisory, but capital didn't get that vote. And the school stabilization fund was voted unanimously by the school committee and by the advisory committee. Capital budget hasn't voted on that yet. And then the school preliminary feasibility study has also gotten voted unanimously by advisory, and the school committee voted 5-0 on that too, Tracy. So, and then the last two before the zoning were also voted unanimously by advisory. That's the cemetery rules and regs, and then the wetlands bylaws. That's one little tiny addition, and they were fine with that. So they unanimously recommend that too. So with the exception of zoning, which has not been, which the board did vote on Tuesday. The three of you voted on Tuesday. No one's voted on that except for the planning board's voting unanimously to support them, as I understand it. And I believe Jack could clarify, but I think the zoning bylaw working group has also voted unanimously in support of the change.
Yeah, I think we're all set with that. It would be helpful, Chris, if you get some feedback or anybody else as to if there are some holdout votes and what are the issues, and then we could call them directly.
So at this point, so there's a public forum scheduled for the 23rd, and we'll be looping you in, so you'll be on that panel, Jack, with Tom and others. And we'll see what what comes out of that, because there was nobody at the public hearings, I mean, except for Gene. So Gene was at everything. So I didn't even go to that public hearing. So that's the warrant. Does anyone have any questions on where we are?
I don't.
So if you want, I think you could, for the purposes of time, I think you could just vote to recommend all of them. You could vote to rescind your prior votes and revote Articles 1 through 14.
So moved.
I think that Chris or Ellen have to do it because
Yeah, I can't.
Oh, that's right.
So I'll move to rescind our prior votes on the warrant articles.
Would you like to second, Ellen?
oh, yeah, I'll second.
Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Plex?
Aye.
Ms. Marr?
Aye,
Jean Haley Dippled, aye. All right. Now, we should do a clean vote. We move a motion to recommend all articles on the warrant to town meeting. Would anyone like to make the motion?
I'll make that motion to recommend all articles to town meeting.
I already did,
Then I second.
but you
Okay.
can go first. I don't care.
Okay, Ms. Mar,
Aye. Or you
Mr.
asked me for a second. We can't be jumping in and around on motions as a point of order. They have to be
Okay.
clean and the second has to be clean. So we shouldn't be
Mr.
having dialogue in the middle of it.
Mr. Grady is the motion, is the mover. Mr. Creighton is the second, just for the record, from what I understand. Are we all in agreement?
Sure.
I
Okay.
guess, yeah.
Ms. Mar,
Aye.
Mr. Plex,
Aye.
Mr. Grady,
Aye.
Mr. Creighton,
Aye.
Jean Haley Dippledy. Okay. So just housekeeping, October 24th, we have a select board meeting. In the interim, I'm asking Michelle and Tracy to work to get us a presentation and information by next Tuesday on a whole bunch of information relating to affordable housing, because we're inviting the Affordable Housing Trust, the Affordable Housing Steering Committee, and I might invite Capital as well as some of the folks from advisory, just so we can air it out and everyone can get information at once, so we don't have our town staff having to say the same thing 1,000 times. It's just not efficient. But that means that we really want the information and need to get the information. So please look at the information that you get early next week in order to ask follow-up if we think we need follow-up, given what we've been hearing. And then I'll start the agenda for October 24th in terms of if there's anything else. So if anyone has anything particular you think we should focus on, given feedback you've been hearing, please let me know. That's all I have. Is there anything you have, Chris?
Let me just, so just as a reminder, October 16th is the next community forum. That's on the courts and project. That's going to be at the library. And then the meeting on the 23rd, which is on zoning, is going to be at Wilcott Commons. They'll both be broadcast as they have been recorded. The one thing that advisory did raise, by the way, is that I asked anyone who wants to take part is to help get the word out. So that and now that as you all kind of start to wrap the warrant, I think members of the advisory committee want to get out and pound the pavement. Mark Maggi, for example, and a couple of others said, "Hey, let's hit the soccer fields." I'm like, I hear. I mean, Ellen has made comments about being careful about interrupting parents who are watching their kids play. So, but I think there's more people who are willing to be out there. So, we're in a 4-week sprint now to town meeting starting Monday. So, let us if there are events that we need to be at. If there's extra copies of the flyers, we have 1-pagers now, by the way, on the financial summary on the report. There's a 1-page summary on that now, and there's one on all the other projects. So those all exist if people want the hard copies of them or just links to them. At this point, I think it's now getting into the community and letting people know what this is all about. The warrant will hit them in about 2 weeks. The warrant goes to the printer today, and we'll have it ready up next week. And then we're going to also work on a mailing. I think some kind of a mailing that goes to the community in advance of town meeting would be helpful, just to explain this stuff a little bit more, at least on a highlight level. That's also in production.
So Chris, thank you for the reminder. I just sent everyone the final version of the long-term finance report, which is on our website for those who want to do more work over the weekend on this topic. With that being said, is there anything else we feel we need to discuss at this point?
No, I'm going to Rotary, the Rotary Club on Monday evening, and there's a big invite out there on social media. Jean, I think you're going to the PSO.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you want me to reach out to the CEF?
Sure, that'd be
Okay.
great. And I'm gonna go to the Legion too, and probably some of the soccer fields. And FYI, the select board is gonna do a trunk or treat. We signed up for something if you happen to be around, October 29th. I'm looking at you, Mr. Plex and Mr. Creighton. Chris and Michelle are gonna join us too, as town staff. And let's see what else. That's all I have. I'm sure I'm forgetting something.
I don't mind going to the Legion, anywhere you want me to go.
Okay, and remember, we have Michael Ernst's dedication on October 22nd too. Tracy?
Yeah, sorry, Jean. I just wanted to know, are we all set with the signatures, Paul and Jack? Because right now they're not on the warrant or the election ballot. So do they want to be on it?
Yes, I've
Like-
been traveling, so
Can you get here this morning?
I certainly can.
I could get there this afternoon. Early this afternoon, I'm hoping to get out of here,
Okay,
unless you just, well,
well, I know the clerk is waiting for the election ballot, like the sooner the better. I can
well, I'll
hold
leave
off
it
on
at
the
this.
other.
I'd like to see, I'll leave it at this. I'd like to see it signed. So,
Okay,
okay.
Michelle?
When you're at town hall, can you please also sign the purchase and sale agreement for 135 King Street?
Oh, yeah.
Alan, what will we do without you? Thank you.
Oh, that's Michelle. Yeah, do you need all of our signatures, right, Michelle?
It would be great to have them all, yes.
All right, I can zip down this morning. I'm working from home.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they'll both be upstairs, right?
yes.
And I'll be in this afternoon if we can't get there by noon for that, but we need the election one's gonna have to get to the clerk this morning. The town meeting warrant, we can get a signature on a little bit later today, but we're gonna need to get that election one to the clerk this morning.
Paul, maybe you could, well, we'll discuss it offline. I have an idea. Chris, did you have something you want to say?
No, I was, which Chris? The 135 King Street, we all need that. Chris, how late are you gonna be there today?
I can be there, you tell me, I'll be there as long as you need.
And
Um,
Flex, I would suggest this is something that doesn't need to be signed today.
Oh,
The 135 King
Yeah.
Street
We'll do it at our
meetings.
next meeting then.
Yeah,
Well, no, don't wait 2 weeks. If you could come in sometime next week, that would be great.
10 days.
Yeah.
Whatever, we'll figure it out. I'll
Figure
bring
it
it,
out.
if you need, we can bring it by your house if it's easier.
I'm gonna be sitting in front of the screen until 5 o'clock, so thank you, but we'll figure it out next week.
I'll have
Well-
Kayla bring it over. I'll attach it.
Yeah.
to
There you go.
We'll have a uniformed officer come by and deliver it unstrained, so your people at work will know how important you are.
It'll be like serving papers.
Well,
Anyway.
I thought about that. I didn't want to tip you off.
Gene, would you entertain a motion to adjourn?
I absolutely would.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, I'm gonna let Ms. Mar have the second on that. one.
Okay.
Okay, thank you everyone for hopping on. Mr. Creighton,
Aye.
Ms. Mar,
Aye.
Mr. Grady,
Aye.
Mr. Plex,
Aye.
Jean Haley Dipple. All right,
Thank you all.
Thank you.
have a great weekend.